Two local women are bringing awareness to the harmful effects of telling people to stay away from certain neighborhoods.
Don't Go, Stories of Segregation and How to Disrupt It, shares personal stories from people living on the city's south and west sides and the impact segregation has had on their communities. The book was written by social justice artist Tonika Johnson and University of Illinois Chicago professor Maria Creason. Both join us now to tell us more about it. Good morning. Thanks both for being here.
Good morning.
So tell us how you guys both came together and how this book came to be.
Well, I guess I'll take a stab at it. I created a project called Folded Map, and it's about visualizing segregation while bringing residents together. And I met her through that project because she's the amazing UIC professor that was quoted in an article about the project.
And you mentioned Folded Map. Talk about that, this idea of folding a map and bringing people from different communities together?
Yes, so the beautiful thing about Chicago, we're on a reticular grid, and so you have addresses that are similar on the north side and the south side.
Right.
And so my project brought people together who live on those addresses, but miles apart in racially and economically different neighborhoods, and they met each other and had a conversation.
It seems strange that a city of this size and sophistication is this segregated after all these years. Why is that still the case? Does it surprise you?
Well, I've studied segregation for decades, and it doesn't surprise me. I think we created a foundation of segregation through a variety of racist housing policies over the decades. And now today, because of our social networks, our lived experiences, and the media, we perpetuate that segregation.
And this idea, the title of this book, Don't Go, it's this idea that don't go to that neighborhood. That is a real problem with perpetuating myths about neighborhoods, Tonika, yes?
Well, yeah, and it's not just an idea, it's an actual thing. People are told about Chicago everywhere, even overseas. They're told about the south side of Chicago, the west side of Chicago being dangerous, and it has real economic impacts on top of it being very hurtful. And so this book was just aiming to bring that conversation to the public in a way that we can actually talk about it and how horrible it is to say.
But you may say to somebody, feel free to come visit this area. And there are people in Chicago know it isn't all of Chicago. It's not even all of the south side, but there are certain areas that are statistically have more crime. Are you suggesting that someone should say, well, I'm going to go visit it anyway, just to see what it's like?
No, I believe we're saying that to say the entire south side and the entire west side is dangerous is absolutely false and incorrect. And because of our history of segregation, it is racist as well.
Talk about, Maria, who you talked to in the book. Was it people in the communities in both south and west side?
It's everyday people. Well, it's everyday people from all over Chicago, transplants and lifelong residents themselves, people who were told not to go to the south and west sides, as well as people who live in neighborhoods where people are told not to go. And I think the really important thing is that this is ingrained throughout the life course, from children being told to be scared and hold their hands and don't make eye contact when they go to a Sox game or the Museum of Science and Industry, college students told to stay within the confines of their university to stay safe. And even I was told to not drive through the west side of Chicago on my way to UIC when I first moved here.
So do the conversations help? Does that bring down barriers, Tonika, just having these conversations to begin with?
Yes, it's worth a try, as well as we seem to forget that segregation and racism is about keeping people apart. And so the more you have those barriers and stereotypes upheld, it makes it very hard and it perpetuates segregation. So having the conversation is the start because we can't vote our way out of it and policies haven't gotten us to where we want to be.
Well, Marla, what's the path to alleviating segregation? Is usually it's through some kind of political process, and where is that? I mean, this is a dominant Democratic city. Why can't they fix that problem?
Well, making those comments is very political, and we have to understand that in order to mobilize, to create change, you have to start with people. You have to have conversations. All of the policies that were critical to our country started with people coming together, talking, and then having a conversation and plan politically how to move forward.
Well, the book is called Don't Go, Stories of Segregation and How to Disrupt It. For more information, you can visit foldedmapproject.com or visit Tonika and Maria on Instagram. Thank you both for being here.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you both.